This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Summer's almost out and fall's calling. Luckily, Nordstrom has everything you need for the season ahead, all under $100. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Mango, Princess Polly, Wave, Free People, BDG, and more. Whether you're planning a last-minute getaway, heading back to class, or refreshing your office looks, you'll find the latest trends and beauty must-haves without breaking your budget. It's easy, too, with free shipping, free returns, and in-store order pickup. Shop today, in stores, and at Nordstrom.com.
I'm 32, juggling family, working full-time, and earning a bachelor's degree. At University of Phoenix, I earn career-relevant skills with every 5-week course. Skills I can use now, not just after graduation.
Earn skills in weeks, not years. Visit phoenix.edu.
This episode is brought to you by Espolón Tequila. Slow, sticky, snoozy. They call these the dog days of summer. But Espolón? They don't do boring. Welcome to the Marg Days. Espolón Tequila. 100% blue Weber agave, born to shake up your summer. Just add lime, agave, and a little attitude. Visit espolontequila.com. Espolón Tequila, 40% alcohol, volume 80 proof. Copyright 2025 Campari America, New York, New York. Drink responsibly.
That sound is the leaky shower head that came with your place. The one that has you starting every morning with a low-pressure nightmare that's nearly your age. Stop settling for someone else's shower. Consider this your wake-up call to swap it for the relaxing feel of a Moen shower head and see how one easy change changes everything. Water designs our life. Who designs for water? Moen.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Buying a car shouldn't eat up your week. That's why Carvana made it convenient. Car buying that fits around your life, not the other way around. You can get pre-qualified for an auto loan in just a couple of minutes and browse thousands of quality car options, all within your terms, all online, all on your schedule. Turn car buying into a few clicks and not a full week's endeavor. Finance and buy your car at your convenience on Carvana. Financing subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
Welcome in, everybody, to the first Postgame Live of the season. Yes, it's the preseason, but guys, we made it. We are back talking about semi-real Eagles football. We can just call it real Eagles football because the Eagles whooped the Bengals starters, and that was pretty fun to watch. So welcome into the show. I'm your host, Shane Haff, standing in for Dibes, who's out sick. Dibes will normally be hosting these, but joined by Ryan. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm excited that we actually have some real football to digest, and it's the start of the defending of the title.
Absolutely, and also joined by a newer addition to the network. Came in the off season. It is Eagles Eric. Give him a follow on Twitter at Eagles X's and O's. Eric, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. It's always nice to have live football back and have. I guess I don't know if they'll have all 22 to analyze, but I'll see if I can figure that out. But I'm sure there's some of your audience that isn't familiar with and just kind of joining now as the season gets going. So it's just nice to get familiarized with them and get this thing rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. I will. Message me tomorrow. I figured out a way to work around to get all 22 last year. I don't know if it'll still work this year, but Johnny was like, the other day, he was like, yeah, there's no all 22 from the preseason. I was like, I remember doing a Tanner McKee all 22 pass game review against the Patriots last year. So hopefully that'll still work tomorrow. But you guys joining on live here on YouTube, on Twitter, keep dropping comments. We can't see Twitter comments, so if you want your comments on the screen, head over to YouTube. That's a Riverside issue that is just not integrated right now. But wherever you're watching, welcome into the show. We do have our 3-word reactions on the Eagles Pin Pull Twitter account, and we will get to that later in the show. We'll get to a lot of your comments. But, Eric, I'll throw it to you first. Let's go offensive side of the ball. I'm not even going to ask you your takeaway because everybody just wants to talk about Tanner McKee. So what did you see from Tanner McKee here in this first game?
He's an unbelievable backup quarterback. I think the thing that's most notable is how quick his processing is. It's clear he gets up to the line and has a great pre-snap plan, and as soon as he hikes it, he stands 6'6", can scan the whole field, and boom, very decisive, lightning quick release, and obviously accurate. He has a little bit of a wobble on it, but I've studied this in the past, and that can make the ball even more catchable for some receivers. So, that this is a guy that even if someone comes knocking on your door with a second rounder during this season, I probably say no, because in the chance that Hurts goes down, you want to be able to still compete, and I think McKee gives you that ability. That's going to be the discussion that dominates Twitter. It was already dominating our Discord a little bit, because I said I don't think you could turn down a second-round pick from a bad team for a backup quarterback. But I love getting to see Tanner McKee shine out like that. I was a big fan of his. I remember really disliking the Tanner McKee draft pick when it happened. And then I saw him play that first preseason, and immediately I was like, okay, he can play. And then last year, I was all aboard that he should be QB2. So 20 of 25 in this game, 252 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He also had the tush-push touchdown. Take that, Packers. Ryan, what do you make of the Tanner McKee thing? I think you've tried to pump the brakes on my McKee hype train before. So what were your thoughts on his performance in the game?
I absolutely have. I'm consistently on the handbrake. And listen, I can even admit that he looked great tonight. And, I can see the progression year to year that he's had. And, I know you had tweeted something out that, you were a little bit confused about, why they would last year go out and get Kenny Pickett. And I think, I didn't think they thought that McKee was truly ready. And perhaps he necessarily wasn't, but man, it really seems like he is now. And while I certainly shudder at the glazing that happens sometimes for backup quarterbacks in this town, I can even admit that Tanner McKee looked really good tonight, and it was nice to see him up against people that were actually going to be playing in the NFL, this time around. So that is, again, also encouraging. And as Eric said, he just towers over everybody and really does have a good vision for the field. So yeah, it was good to see. But again, still pump the brakes. I'm sure we'll see the trade Tanner McKee for Micah Parsons straight up. Trades out there on Twitterverse, but still.
I think it was Solak. I saw said on Twitter that if Jerry called and offered Parsons for McKee, I would make him throw in a draft pick. Let's go to a few comments here. We've got, oh my goodness, it's skipping everywhere. Tech chiming in saying Tanner season. We've got a few more McKee comments here. Krabby says, I didn't see the game, but it looks like McKee had a good night. Anthony says that we should trade McKee right now. He will never have more trade value. Yeah, and then we've got another. The biggest winner of the game was Trey Hendrickson from Yakko, which is funny because you will hear people talk about the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals played their starters in the first quarter. What you won't hear a lot of people talk about is their starters on defense are on par with most teams' second team. So, maybe we wait and see how it goes against the Browns. Maybe they get Myles Garrett out there a little bit. But good performance from McKee. I guess we can just sit here and talk about the other quarterbacks before we move on. So we see a little bit of DTR. To me, DTR threw the ball with more velocity than I thought I remembered him with. But other than that, he was kind of what I expected. Didn't do a lot for me. And then Kyle McCord didn't look very good. I would like to see the back angle on that interception because that was such a bad miss. It almost feels like it was not a bad throw. It was a miscommunication. I'm not really sure on that one, though, but I did notice he's just real jittery in the pocket. So didn't feel great about either of those guys. But, again, you're playing behind such depth on the O-line at that point. I think it's kind of hard to take anything away. So, Eric, anything you want to mention on DTR or McCord before we move on?
Yeah, it's a good point. You really don't even know to what caliber those guys can play, because you mentioned offensive line, but also the receivers. I mean, they have guys who you've never heard of out there, and if they're not getting open, then what can you really do? It's not like McCord is mobile. DTR, he's obviously more of a scrambling quarterback, but even he got stuffed on that very obvious empty shotgun draw. So, I don't really care about that because McKee looks so good. But yeah, the other quarterbacks probably underwhelmed.
Yeah. Ryan, anything else you want to add on the backup quarterbacks?
McCord, McCord didn't look great. And, that's all right. It's the first time in a professional setting that he's been out there, so I'm not going to hold that against him. I would have liked to seen DTR do a little bit more, but I think you might have said it best. I think we might know who he is at this point, so which is a little disappointing. But hey, listen, honestly, whatever they could have done, they could have done backflips out there, and it still wouldn't have really mattered. McKee again, clearly the big winner of the day.
All right, well, let's talk about the receivers, and then we can circle back to the running backs. I think there were some big winners in the receiver room too. Williams chiming in that Darius Cooper was impressive. Tech says that I hope Wilson continues to make plays. I like his size, and those were two guys that I was really impressed with. And of course, they're the two leading receivers. Darius Cooper, 6 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. Johnny Wilson, 3 for 73 yards. And I thought he made all 3 of his catches I thought were really good. 2 jump balls, one of which I thought was underthrown, and then a really nice back shoulder catch he doesn't make any of those 3 catches last year, I don't think. But then later in the game, he did have a drop. And, the broadcast, I thought, kind of put that on DTR. I didn't really think it was that far behind him. I think that was a pretty catchable ball. Could have been better placed, but so a little bit of up and down from Johnny Wilson, but overall I was impressed by what I saw from him and from Darius Cooper. And so, Ryan, I'll throw it to you first here. What did you see among the receivers? And, do you think both of these guys are going to make the roster?
Yeah, it was really good to see, Johnny Wilson up there making some plays, and that one that, he kind of was battling and stayed focused on the catch. That was, again, encouraging to see. Also don't forget about Anaya Smith, who again had himself an impact in this game, scoring the touchdown, having the really good return as well. He's a guy that I'm clearly rooting for, and Cooper was a guy that actually stood out to me on Tuesday. I was up at training camp. I'll be perfectly honest, I had zero idea who the heck the guy was. And he stood out there, and obviously he stood out tonight. And another guy that did stand out in practice was Cooks, and unfortunately he did get hurt early in the game, and that was a little disappointing because I really wanted to kind of see him put that out on the field. But let's not also forget about Dotson. We need him to do a little bit more than he did last year, and again, having a full season here and have a full off season is nice. So things are looking a lot better than I think maybe the initial thought process was of life after Brown and Smith in the depth chart.
Yeah, seeing Jahan Dotson beat press coverage and get open, that was a nice thing to see because that was a major issue for him last year. Eric, what stood out to you from the receiving room?
So I jotted down a few notes, and I was like, Wilson looked pretty good, Anaya Smith looked pretty good, Dotson looked good, and obviously Cooper. And he's totally off my radar. Like, I didn't scout Darius Cooper. I'm definitely going to go back and watch some Tarleton State now. But
where do you find that?
Yeah. I think about the common denominator, and that's 2 things. Tanner McKee and the Bengals defense. They're a truly horrid defense, and McKee is just dealing out there. He's just making everyone look better. The guy that really intrigues me the most out of them is Cooper, because he's got a really unique build for a receiver. There's some highlights of him going way up the ladder. I think he's got a ridiculous vertical and some like long arms. And he's hard to bring down. He kind of has that running back build. So that's very intriguing. Like, does he give you an element to your offense that you didn't have before if he makes the team? Whereas I think we know what Johnny Wilson is, kind of that's that power slot. I think we know Anaya Smith's kind of that gadget player who's going to run end arounds and screens. But Cooper, he might actually be able to like provide something on the outside or out of the slot. So I'm just interested to learn more about him and watch more.
Yeah. Darius Cooper is not a name that I even really knew before this game. And I don't read a lot of the training camp reports and things. I'm a film guy. I don't want to go read a lot of practice reports and let it give me a picture of a guy that I'm going to take in some sort of preconceived notion. So I stay away from a lot of that. And I heard his name and stuff for the first time tonight, and I was like, wow, he looked pretty good. So I'll be anxious to watch him back again as well. Shout out to Anthony here for being naive. Says, thank goodness the Eagles have a great QB1 so the fan base doesn't have to do the whole thing begging for the backup to play. My friend, just tune in to WIP's morning show tomorrow, and I'm sure you'll get all the talk that you want. But anyways, let's keep rolling on. Let's talk about the running game. Obviously, Saquon doesn't play, but the running backs still put up 132 yards and 2 touchdowns, rushing for 4 yards per carry. And the standout guy to me was Shipley. I thought Will Shipley looked really well. He looked really good. It's late. Rips off that 38-yard run early in the game. A.J. Dillon got involved a little bit. I think he had a couple targets in the passing game. 3 receptions for 27 yards. And I remember that being something that Johnny and I had talked about, that Dillon's a big guy, but the Packers used him in the receiving game. And, he's not going to go burn linebackers on wheel routes, but he's competent out of the backfield. But what impressed me the most with A.J. Dillon was that jump cut that he had on that run up the middle. And you just don't see a guy that's that build move that way often. And when you do, it's a Saquon level player. And A.J. Dillon's not that, but he gives you a nice, I think, backup for Saquon in a way that I don't think, if Saquon were to go down, I don't think you want to give Will Shipley 20 carries a game. I do think you could do that with A.J. Dillon, and it's obviously not going to be as good as Saquon, but I thought he looked healthy, and I feel a lot better about the running back room after tonight's game. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. And to be honest, I think Shipley is roughly what we always thought he was, which is you give him a big hole, and he'll come through like a lightning bolt. But then we saw some of those short yardage carries, and as soon as he's touched, he goes down. Yeah. And that's fine. That's not his game. That's why you have A.J. Dillon. And he is a legit short yardage back. And he does give you, as you mentioned, that receiving element out of the backfield. I really liked what I saw out of Dillon. I agree with you. He looked healthy. And I'm a lot more optimistic about the room as a whole.
All right. Ryan, thoughts on the running backs?
Yeah.
Do you miss Kenny Gainwell yet?
Well, I was going to say, wow. But somebody mark it down as the first Gainwell mentioned tonight. Listen, it was good to see Dillon out there. Like you said, he definitely looked a little bit spry that I wasn't kind of fully expecting. He definitely had some agility to him. I was just kind of assuming he was just going to be this just big power guy and just lunk around. And again, I saw him at practice, and he looks the part. The legs are just massive tree trunks, but it was really good to see his agility out there. It was great to see him in the passing game. You guys pretty much nailed Will Shipley. You give him a big hole. He's quick. He doesn't necessarily have the long speed, but yeah, it was. I definitely feel a little better about it, and even the young kid, Powell.
Powell. Yeah, we got a lot of comments here talking about Powell.
Yeah, he's a guy that, again, I didn't really know a lot about when I went to the training camp. And, again, he's a guy that stood out a little bit for me. And, it was good to see that, be shown in the game tonight. So he's definitely going to, fight for some practice squad, probably.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk offensive line, and then we'll flip it over to the defense. I feel like offensive line play is a little hard to watch on broadcast, especially with guys getting shuffled in and out, and you're not sure who is where. But I think the big thing that stuck out to me is that the Eagles have some good backups on the interior of their offensive line. Drew Kendall comes in and plays the majority of the game at center, and I thought he seemed to do pretty good. Trevor Keegan, I also thought looked good. And then I kind of got mixed up on what tackles I was watching at times, so I'm going to have to go back and review that. But, Eric, anything stick out to you from the offensive line?
Yeah, I thought the tackles looked really bad.
Okay.
Hinton got beat
Hinton
a few
bad.
times, and I forget if he also had a penalty. And then Cameron Williams had a few big lapses.
Hinton had 2 penalties.
Yeah, in a row.
And, just to kind of give a evergreen statement here, I'm more bullish on Hinton overall. I just think he has better physical tools than Williams. He just really struggles in the technique department, and that's why you bring him into Stoutland University. Even though I think fans maybe were more acquainted with Williams because he had a lot of those big appearances in the college football playoffs. But, that they definitely struggled. So I'm interested to see, maybe do they give snaps to Matt Pryor out there? Do we start to see Kendall Lamb more? Because I'm not necessarily convinced the backup tackles are there yet. There's one other guy I'm leaving out for tackle is Holland Pierce, and I think he only got in towards the end, and I just don't know how he performed, but we'll go back and watch that.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, anything stick out to you from the tackles?
Yeah,
from the O-line, excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's tough in a preseason game to really, again, know who is truly out there. And I think a lot of the times when you are very aware of who is out there, that's probably not a great thing. And that was kind of the case with Hinton, who I actually was able to talk to a decent amount. Had a nice little conversation. Super nice guy. Rooting for the kid, but yeah, he just had a couple of bad penalties there, and hopefully it's more of a learning experience because he clearly has the physical tools. But there's a lot of youth, let's just say, and they showed it tonight. And there's still a couple more semesters left of Stoutland University left to go, so I'm not worried.
All right. Before we flip it over to the defense, I will say I had people asking me what we think about Kevin Patullo so far, and I'll just put this out there for everybody listening. No idea. Preseason games are so vanilla and straightforward in their play calling. You're not going to take much away from that. So I don't think that you're going to be making any sort of real judgments about Patullo until we get into the regular season anyways. But
can I throw something in there? I will say this. They ran quite a bit of up-tempo, especially early in the game. I thought the operations was really good, which that's encouraging. I agree, play calling, that's totally vanilla. You can throw that out. But if you're getting into the line, you're getting the plays in, everyone's coordinated, no pre-snap penalties, to me, that's at least a nice indicator of things going forward on that front.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Good call out there. So let's flip it over to the defense. Let's talk about what nobody wants to talk about. Let's talk about CB2. So now, obviously, let's bear in mind the Bengals are playing their starters, and Jamar Chase is you can't have a receiver ranking that doesn't have him top 3. I think there's a legitimate argument for 3 names to be number 1: Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown. I think you can put him in any order, and I won't quibble with it, but you can't have him outside the top 3. And so he's going up against Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo, and I thought both looked pretty bad. I had a tweet after the first drive. I thought Adoree Jackson had 2 really bad plays back-to-back where he just gave up an easy out route past the sticks on 3rd down. and then the next play was a run play up the middle, and he just like comes flying in and just runs past the running back and doesn't get involved in the play. And so I called that out, and I said that and Ringo gave up a sideline catch to Chase. It was kind of a back shoulder stop type route, and he just he can't throttle down and get out of that quick enough. But that was a tough throw. I thought it was good coverage, and so I said that I thought he looked a lot better than Jackson on the opening drive. Boy, let me tell you, then the second drive happened, and I tweeted the touchdown catch he gave up, and I said that he corners like an '89 Cadillac. I mean, you just see like. I think Ryan might be able to throttle down and spit. Maybe not. I don't know. But it was a rough day for both of those guys. And keeping in mind, Joe Burrow's a top 4 quarterback, top 5 quarterback, going against a top 3 receiver, but not the most encouraging performance. And I don't think people should totally overreact. I really wish we could have seen Jacorian Bennett a little bit as well. So, Eric, you just put out a scouting report on all 3 of those guys in our Patreon. So I'll throw it to you first. What did you see from Ringo and Jackson, and what do you kind of expect from CB2 moving forward?
And I'd invite people who haven't watched my film breakdown of Ringo to go check that out. And there'll probably be a Bennett one coming here soon. But the things are, his strengths and weaknesses are pretty well defined. And could you imagine a worse matchup than Jamar Chase? And he's having to cover him on an island from a condensed alignment. And it's against his signature move. Jamar Chase, he's beaten some of the best cornerbacks in the league with that pivot and back to the inside. Him and Burrow have been honing that for years and years. And his lateral agility is incredible, off the charts, and Ringo's is bottom tier. So it's just a terrible matchup. If it was an actual game, you would think they'd have more help bracketing Chase a lot more often. In fact, we saw that when they actually played the Bengals last year, despite having better corners in there, which obviously makes sense. And then that game, T. Higgins was out, to be fair. So I'm not ready to just give up on Ringo. I really am more bearish on Jackson. Like, he's a vet. We kind of know what he is. It's not like he's getting any better necessarily, other than maybe like understanding the scheme. So I'm probably pretty down on him. Ringo, yes, it was a bad showing, but there's not a worse situation he could have been placed in. The only thing I really do worry about going forward is it a knock to his confidence? Because all the time you'll hear other Eagles teammates trying to prop him up, and I always speculate that they know he's a guy who kind of thrives when he plays with confidence, but then if he gets down on himself, it can sink his play. I just hope that doesn't happen to him, and he just comes back and wants to battle next week and plays better.
Yeah, as much as Eagles fans got annoyed with Jalen Mills for finger wagging after an overthrow, you want that mentality in your defensive backs. So, Ryan, what stuck out to you with the Ringo Jackson or really the corners in general?
Yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much nailed it. I think it's important not to overreact. It was not a great showing for either one, but, again, you take it with a grain of salt. You were literally going up against one of the best wide receivers in the league currently. And, listen, I would like to think that I'd at least get a hand on Chase during that play. But, guess we'll never know. I'm excited about Bennett. I also worry about what bringing him in is going to do to Ringo's, mental. As Eric mentioned there, it definitely seems like Ringo, ebbs and flows with kind of how things are going, and kind of what the talk is. And I just hope it's a motivation for him. I hope that he sees, the wrongdoings from tonight, and it motivates, because Bennett has an opening should he want it. Should he's able to, he's healthy and all of that, all he has to do is show just a little bit, and he'll have a leg up on that CB2 spot. So,
well, I want to jump in here real quick, and I want to ask Shane, do you think Howie might be placing some calls in the next week here to see if there's any veteran corners around the league, or is it way too early to say that?
I mean, it's Howie, so he's probably was making those calls even
already
before
did.
this game. Because I just assume it's his hobby. Like, he's probably calling teams about quarterbacks too. He's like, hey, we've got Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee, and we like those guys, but what if they both got hurt walking out of the tunnel? So I would imagine he knows the landscape everywhere. I would be surprised to see a move made. And I also think, like, when you've got Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson, two guys you're not confident in, opposite each other, you kind of are just on an island, versus when you've got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean out there and you can trust them on a side, and then you can sort of push coverage the other way. I mean, it's like what the Seahawks did with Richard Sherman for years, that they would push that coverage to Byron Maxwell and help him out, and everybody thought he was great. In fact, the Eagles thought he was great enough to sign him to a huge contract that ended fantastically. Oh no, wait, that was awful. But so I think that even if you were stuck putting one of those guys out there and it was just like this, it wouldn't actually look that bad when you've got the other side pretty well locked down. So there's going to be a lot on Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell's plate as well, that they need to step up and be able to play at the level they played last year, so you can push help the other direction. So
one last thing on this. People will remember last season that when the Eagles came out, they were playing like 9-10 yards off, and the cornerbacks were getting toasted. Mm-hmm. And after the bye, they started playing like 6-7 yards off to much better effect. And I do wonder, like, Fangio, there's obviously a reason he did this, but he kind of left them out to dry playing that far off, assuming that's what he told them to do. They just never had a fighting chance against them. So I'm just curious to see, like, do they kind of play him in that tweener area, not press, not way off? I think that's where they'd have more success.
Yeah. I'll also shout out Tariq Castro-Fields. He had a really nice hit to break up. I think it was a third down pass that forced a punt. So I thought that was a nice play by him. Eric, I saw you tweet about Mac McWilliams. I honestly, he wasn't somebody. Preseason's tough because guys are changing in. I still don't have everybody's numbers down, so I didn't notice McWilliams throughout the course of the game. But I saw you tweeted that he was the DB you really enjoyed watching. So why don't you talk about McWilliams a little bit? And
candidly, it's a little tongue-in-cheek because the other DBs just look so bad. But I did key on him on a couple like obvious pass situations, and it looked like he was moving really good, staying attached to his receiver without grabbing, and he looked just poised and confident out there. Everything you'd hope to see. Now, I could go back and watch the All-22 and maybe the other 25 snaps that I wasn't keying on him, he might have been terrible, but early signs were good, so I'll definitely keep an eye on that once we do watch the film.
All right, and then Sidney Brown, man. So my son was still up. He was watching that. We let him watch like most of the first half. And when Sidney Brown came flying downhill on the play, he injured himself. And my son was like, whoa. And I was like, he'll never make it through a season playing like that. And it was like 10 seconds later that they're like, and Sidney Brown's grabbing his shoulder. And I was like, yeah, like, just, he's so aggressive and he's just so reckless. And I really hoped after the injuries that he's had that he would dial that in a little bit. But it really just appears to be leopard's never going to change his spots, tiger's never going to change his stripes, whatever the saying is. I had people trying to tell me on Twitter that there was nothing wrong with that tackle. And I was like, please don't ever teach youth football, because that's like a classic example of what not to do. I'm officially worried about safety. I don't know how that's going to work out for the Eagles this year. I really need Andrew Makuba to be healthy and to get on the field. So, Ryan, any thoughts on the safeties or anything else you want to mention about defensive backs?
Yeah. We obviously have some question marks. And, obviously there's plenty of time, and I say that with a little bit of tongue in cheek, but there's about a month, 3 weeks until the season to figure out who's going to be the guys and who's going to be out there, and or for Howie to make moves accordingly. But I think yeah, there are some certain potential, players there, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we know what Sidney Brown is, and Sidney Brown is the guy that's just gonna honestly fly by the screen in a blur. You're not even gonna see his number. You're just gonna know. Oh yeah, that was Sidney, and he's gonna overcommit and hit the wrong person or hit the ground or do something he's not supposed to do. But yeah, listen, I know that they have had Coop, DeJean, at safety during some of their base packages, which I get. You want to get them out in the field, but considering they barely play in that, they need to get somebody. And hey, Justin Simmons still out there wearing Eagles hoodies on TikTok videos or whatever it was. So I honestly could easily see Howie making one of those moves, for a safety or some more corner help. So.
Growing your e-commerce business comes with plenty of hurdles, but shipping shouldn't be one of them. Well, here's some good news. Powerful e-commerce shipping software called ShipExcel from Pitney Bowes. With ShipExcel, you can generate discounted shipping labels for both online and offline orders. That saves time and money with everything right at your fingertips. Start your free trial of ShipExcel from Pitney Bowes today.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
Now at Chipotle, our all-new Chipotle Honey Chicken brings Chipotle heat with a touch of sweet. Seared smoked peppers and savory Mexican spices, blended with a hint of pure honey for a perfectly balanced sauce. All combined with fresh, tender chicken hot off the grill, served up in your favorite burrito or bowl. New Chipotle Honey Chicken takes heat and sweet to a whole new level. But it's only at Chipotle for a limited time. Order now in the app for pickup or delivery. Chipotle, for real.
Hellmann's believes they can turn any mayo hater into a lover. So, if you know someone who thinks mayo equals bland, show their taste buds the truth and challenge them to try Hellmann's flavored mayo. With irresistible flavors like Hellmann's spicy mayo, garlic aioli, chipotle, and Italian herb, they'll be eating their words. Challenge haters to try Hellmann's flavored mayo and get them to eat their words. Learn more at hellmanns.com/eatyourwords.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
Yeah, Eric, didn't you have a nickname for Sidney Brown last year? Was that you?
Yeah, and I think this is actually taking hold because I called him Crash Browndicoot, and then Reed Blankenship called him Crash Bandicoot, and then I just heard on WIP today they called him Crash Brown. So some version of what I started is taking hold, so that's pretty exciting to see. And I think it's just so fitting for his play style. You can't rein him in. But I'll say this. Why can't he be the best gunner in the NFL? He's blazing fast. He's fearless. He can lay the boom. He can get you a forced fumble. That has value. He can come in, maybe in base defense, maybe as like a sub package, big nickel, big dime type of deal and help you out. But yeah, you can't just trust him as an every down post safety. We really just need to see Makuba at this point. And I do wonder, Shane and I both talked about this in the offseason, that the way Makuba plays, he's also like a fearless, aggressive player, but pretty much like he has a skinny build. And that's not necessarily a good combination there because you're potentially injury prone. and then we saw he got injured. And it seemed like it was on a play where he was like diving and collided with some guy. So it's a concern. Do I want to run out and sign Justin Simmons? No. The last time I saw him on an NFL field, I thought he looked slow and cooked. But if they think Makuba's not ready, they got to start making calls around the NFL, because I think that's a really important position in Fangio defense.
You mentioned the Makuba playing a little reckless thing. I remember doing an all-22 rookie watch-along for Andrew Makuba with Johnny, and there was a play that we watched, and we'd mentioned him being a little reckless in like how he tackled and things at times, and then there was this one play, and we were like, yeah, see, you just can't do that. You're going to end up getting yourself hurt. And then the video rolled back to the beginning of the game like, oh, he actually got injured on that play, and it was the last play he was in for the game. So, yeah, you got to watch that with both of them a little bit. We'll see. Hopefully one or both of them can get healthy, because the Eagles are going to need somebody there. So, Ryan, let's get into your favorite position, the linebackers. And again, watching preseason's tough, but I didn't feel like anybody jumped off the screen to me at linebacker in this game. I will say, Trotter Jr. had a couple really good triggers in the run game where he diagnosed things quickly, but then he kind of gets pushed backwards as he gets at the catch point. And I'm still learning numbers, so I was like, man, which one was Jihad Campbell? But nobody really jumped out to me. But you're the linebacker guy. What'd you see from linebacker?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, again, pretty typical of what we can kind of expect from Jeremiah Trotter. I think, the intelligence factor on him is, top notch, honestly. He led the team in tackles. He had a QB hit. I thought he had a very decent game, honestly. Jihad Campbell, again, I don't think he was out there long enough for there to be too much. But again, it's more or less of him getting out there, getting the experience, getting further away from, the injury. And again, his status week one is, obviously still a little bit up in the air, but, I honestly, I don't think there was, I think the positive about the linebackers is that there were really no negatives, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Eric, anything stick out to you from the linebackers?
Yeah, I thought Smile Mondin looked really bad, getting swallowed up by blockers easily, multiple missed tackles. For Campbell, I want to get this on the record because in certain channels I've talked about this, but not necessarily as publicly. Going back and watching his film, watching him now, there are some issues. He plays with too high a pad level. He's standing straight up and down. He's pretty poor in block destruction. He really only can have a swipe move and dip around a guy. If someone gets into his chest, he's neutralized. And there's one major problem, is he is just happy feet, chopping like crazy, moving around spastically. When you're an inside linebacker, you're trying to diagnose and then you're triggering on the play. You need to have some kind of nice rhythm to what you're doing with your feet and keep, be able to have good eye discipline. When you're just going around like this, like crazy, you lose that. And it hurts him in his back pedal. It hurts him when he's trying to fit the run. So I have no doubt that Bobby King and Fangio will get the best out of him and address some of these weaknesses. But I just wanted to put that on the record that I think there are some major things to clean up. We talked about Saquon Barkley called him raw 3 separate times in his interview talking about Campbell. So there's a ways to go. I still think the tools are incredible. I'm very optimistic about his future, but he's not there yet.
All right, well, then last position group, and we'll roll into our MVP and our 3 words. But let's talk about the pass rush. I mean, they do more than rush the passer, I should say. Let's talk about our defensive line. Eric, who stuck out to you from the defensive line?
2 players for me. Gabe Hall, and
yes.
You talk about a backup nose tackle for Jordan Davis. This guy fits the bill. Because with the Eagles on defense, they want to play light boxes with their too high shell so that they can defend the run just with 6 guys. That requires a big guy in the middle to plug up multiple gaps and keep the linebackers clean. well, they didn't really have a great option last year for that role. Gabe Hall can be that for them. Obviously I don't think he's as good as Jordan Davis, but he's absolutely massive. He absorbed the double team on one play and had a nice corkscrew technique. He even knifed into the backfield on one or two plays that I saw. So he maybe has a little bit of pass rush juice. We've heard good reports about him from camp, so that's someone I'm very optimistic about. One other guy I'll mention is Antoine Powell-Ryland. Everyone knows he played in the same conference as Ezeraku and also had 16 sacks. But for a variety of reasons, he didn't play the run. Maybe his testing was mixed bag. He dropped all the way down until, I think, the 6th or 7th round. I thought he looked good in his mobility. There was a few times they ran some stunts. There was a few times he had some inside counters and even a bull rush. Now, granted, I'll have to do research to see he might be playing the worst tackle in the world, and then I don't value that as much. That's one of the tricks about preseason is you have no idea about the level of competition. But I thought of all the edge rushers, he kind of intrigued me. I wasn't very intrigued by what I saw out of Ojulari. Uche maybe had one or two snaps that flashed, but yeah, APR is the guy I'm keeping my eye on.
It's funny that Gabe Hall is like the backup nose tackle when he's sub 300 pounds. Like, he's super tall. I think he's like 6'7", but he's pretty light for a guy that is going to play nose tackle. But I thought Gabe Hall was really disruptive.
Is weight at the combine?
His weight at the combine was 291. The Eagles have him listed at 295 now.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like he plays much bigger than that. But yeah, that is notable.
And then I'll mention, so people are going to talk about Ty Robinson. And I don't think Ty Robinson was bad, but I just want to say, like, they're going to say, he led the team in pressures and things, but one of his pressures was off of a DT twist, so he was just kind of running behind a guy that ran interference for him. And another one of his pressures, like, he literally just didn't get blocked. I tweeted that clip, and I was like, I might have been able to pressure the quarterback on that one. So that's just, I thought of that when you mentioned that's the trick of preseason is seeing who you're against. Like, he played a lot, and I didn't think he looked bad. He's also really easy to pick out. It's the white guy on the defensive line. So my eyes were drawn to him a lot. But that is one of the things that, like, you got to be careful with preseason stats and cherry picking clips because he had some nice opportunities, I'll say there. But Ryan, what stuck out to you on the defensive front?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of piggyback off of that, you just look at a stat sheet and you see, oh, hey, Ty Robinson, he's got a sack, tackle for loss. Like, what a great game, the only official sack. But you're right. You're right. And again, not to downplay, anything he did, but because he did have an okay game. I think I think to piggyback again off of what Eric said, Powell-Ryland, I thought looked good. Again, that's another guy I was able to chat with a little bit on Tuesday, and just his, you can definitely tell he's just so, he's very happy, very blessed to kind of be in the given the opportunity. So I think I definitely am going to be rooting for him. Certainly was.
Ryan, let me ask you: APR, is he like physically impressive compared to what you saw other players?
No, and I'm bigger than him.
Okay,
I'm 6'3". I'm just being honest. I'm 6'3". 200 and whatever pounds.
You mumbled there. Could you repeat that? It kind of cut out.
No, but I mean, listen. He definitely wasn't anything that you would go, oh, that's clearly a defensive lineman on a football, professional football team. But I think that goes to show you that he definitely has a strength about him and a determination. So obviously, like you said, he was able to get all those sacks last year in a decent conference. So but yeah, so again, definitely rooting for that kid. Also good to see Gabe Hall do a little bit because now he has the opportunity. Thomas Booker has got shipped off to Las Vegas, and the door definitely swung open for him to really see some extra time. So it was didn't really see anything from the big names that I was hoping to. Ojolari, Uche, again, didn't really do much for me. Obviously, really weren't out there for long enough. But I like the depth that we have, and again, it's one game. Like you said, it's also hard to kind of figure out who they were actually playing up against. You take everything with a bit of a grain of salt. Try not to overreact to everything, but there wasn't a lot to dislike, I guess I would say.
Shane, I'd like to ask you real quick.
Yep.
Like, Gabe Hall, 6'7", 295. Like, that doesn't sound remotely close to a nose tackle build.
No.
Am I blind, or like could he actually fill that role?
It looked like it tonight. I mean, I want to see it some more, but I was really impressed with what I saw from him in the game tonight. So, and I think I'm torn on whether the trade of Thomas Booker, who I really liked as a run stuffer last year, for Jacorian Bennett, whether that says more about the Eagles' confidence in their defensive tackle depth or lack of confidence in their CB depth.
I think a little bit of both.
Going into tonight, I would have said it said more about their confidence in the DT depth. After tonight, I'm not as sure about that, and I'm trying not to overreact to that, which was funny. Like, I put out, I said in a tweet in the second quarter, I was like, not to overreact to 20 minutes of preseason football, but I'm starting to get concerned about the Eagles CB2. And somebody was like, it's one game. I was like, well, yeah, I literally said not to overreact about 20 minutes of preseason football. But I think the Eagles have confidence in him, if not to be a Jordan Davis backup, at least to play. And I think the Thomas Booker trade kind of tells you a little bit of that.
Yeah,
it's the nature of the Philadelphia sports fan, though, is to worry instantly. And I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. But we just need a little bit more time, right? Like Darius Slay, do you remember how he played coming out of the gates last season? And Quinyon Mitchell, he had a welcome to the NFL moment. And remember, Keely Ringo, I don't want to give him, infinity passes here, but he's still more than a whole year younger than Quinyon Mitchell. He's a young pup. And people say, yeah, he's been in the NFL multiple years. Yeah, but he hasn't been playing. You need actual reps to get good. Quinyon Mitchell's got, 6-7 times the reps that he has. So, obviously you don't want to have to put him in and, you lose games because you need to get him experience. But I'm not ready to be like, okay, he can't play.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll say this. They will both look better next Saturday when they play the Cleveland Browns, who have 6 quarterbacks and yet somehow have no quarterbacks. So they will look better in that situation for sure. So let's throw it over. Let's throw it around the horn and get our official MVPs of the game. No repeats here. Eric, it's not your first post-game show, but you're newer to it than Ryan is. So I'll give you the slam dunk if you want it. Who's your MVP?
This is like LeBron from the free throw line, the easiest slam dunk of all time. Tanner McKee, one of the best preseason performances we've seen, I think, in recent history. Pretty much perfect performance, scintillating, and now has Philly talking about, will we get a first or second rounder for him? That you'll hear that on WIP tomorrow. So easy MVP for me.
All right. Ryan, I'll throw it to you next. I always do myself last and stick myself with the who. But Ryan, I'll throw it to you next. Who's your non-Tanner McKee MVP?
Yeah, obviously, it's clearly Tanner is the clear winner tonight. But I'll go with Philly loves obsessing about a preseason wide receiver. So let's go with Darius Cooper. The offensive number 41, 6 catches, 82 yards, touchdown, 6 catches on 7 targets. I thought he played really, really good. And honestly, a lot of people are knowing his name tonight that didn't even know he existed about 3 hours ago.
All right. And then I thought about, in honor of Dibes, who is not here, saying Jeff Stoutland or the entire offensive line or some ridiculous thing like that. But Dibes loves to make his player of the game a coach. But
or something, anything but a player.
Yeah,
or like he would have said Jalen Carter, because there was a clip of him teaching Gabe Hall a technique or something on the sideline.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go with Gabe Hall. We had the discussion about him. He was the guy that really stuck out to me on the defense. So give me Gabe Hall for my MVP. And so that brings us to the point of the show. It is our Eagles reaction in 3 words. All right. Each and every week, immediately following the game, you can head over to the Eagles Pinpool Twitter account. Go give it a follow if you aren't already. And we will drop our Eagles game in 3 words. And you guys can leave your reactions on Twitter. We'll read some of them out on the post-game show. So I'll read a few of them here. Not a lot of reactions this time, but hey, we're just getting back into the swing of things. It's postseason. But we've got Quentin Moore chiming in. It says, "That's my quarterback." Phil,
preseason. You said postseason.
Well, see, that would add a 4th word, and that doesn't work. But Philly D. Luffy says, "CB, big problem." And then right below him, Winston says, "Keely will rebound." So we've got the duality of Eagles Twitter there. Delco Bryan says, "Good depth, ... initially." Viper Dynamos gave a McKee is QB2. Intimidator 21 said CB2 problem. And then we got a Philly Sports Go Boom left a comeback sleigh. So lots of, as we expected, lots of Tanner McKee talk, lots of cornerback talk. Ryan, I'll throw it to you first. What's your 3-word reaction to the game?
Man, this is tough because, there's a lot of easy ones to get to go, McKee, or this, that, the other. But I will say, normally I'm more of a positive person, but I'm going to say worried about safety.
All right, worried about safety. Eric, what's your 3-word reaction?
Where's the coverage? Because you have these guys playing 12 yards off against the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the NFL, and then wondering why they're getting roasted.
All right, I'm gonna go Johnny Wilson juice ? Because I get a question mark. That's not a word. So I'm gonna go with Johnny Wilson juice ? We have a comment here from Yakko that said that intro music sounds like a jeans commercial, and I'm honestly not sure what to do with that.
It's accurate, though.
Accurate, yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that is going to about do it. Bless those of you that are 55 minutes into a preseason postgame show with us. Thank you guys for sticking around. We will be live for postgame shows throughout the preseason. It's really weird mixing these prefixes here. Dibes and I will start our halftime shows with the regular season. And so lots of content coming your way from the Eagles Pinpool Network. I'll throw it around the horn before we get out of here. Ryan, any final thoughts? Anything you want to shout out?
No, it's great to be back doing some post games. It's great to have actual football. It's great to have something to obsess over for the next week. I'm excited to be getting down there to the link, my second home, and can't wait to raise that banner against the Cowboys.
All right, that is going to be a lot of fun. Eric, any final thoughts? Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I actually just recorded a podcast today that's on Twitter. You can check it out with a Commanders content creator. But it was a phenomenal podcast. I'd invite everyone to check that out. We may reconvene before the Commanders matchups later this season. And also, we have so much content already in Patreon, and a lot more coming. So if you're not a member, I'd invite you to check that out. At least join for a month and see how you like it. It's an amazing community, and there's a lot more content that we don't have publicly available.
Yeah, I want to shout out Eric's. Was it 2 weeks ago you had Coach Limegrover on the podcast? Yeah, so I was gone when you had him on, and then I just finally got around to listening yesterday. That was a phenomenal interview. So if you guys want to learn some stuff about O-line play, it's in the Eagles Pinpool Network podcast feed. Go check that out. It was a great interview that Eric and Sam did with Coach Limegrover. So go check that out. Hit the subscribe button. As Q said here, like and subscribe. Krabby said it too. We really appreciate you guys. If you want some more content, like Eric mentioned, there's Patreon that Eric, Johnny, and I run, patreon.com/ontheshane page. There'll be film breakdowns and things in there. We've got a post-game crew of 6 guys this year. David, Dibes, and Johnny will also be on various post-games, so we're targeting having 3 guys on every post-game. It'll rotate out a little bit, but we're looking forward to hanging out with you guys this season as the Eagles start their bid to repeat as Super Bowl champions. So you guys have a good evening. We'll catch you guys next time when we break down the Eagles' victory. I don't even know if we care that much over the Browns next Saturday, but hopefully we see some good play from Tanner McKee and the cornerbacks. We'll catch you guys then.